interested in what you are chromosomally?
46XY, 95% confidence.
Huh.
Our next guest says, living as a boy just never felt right. I want you to take a look at this.
When I was born, I looked like, you know, every other normal boy in the maternity ward. And I was named Charles after my dad. I think everybody thought it was going to be a pretty trouble-free childhood, which, you know, it was anything but. I never felt like a little boy. I racked my brain to try to remember a moment, a second, when I said, gee, maybe I'm a boy. Just never happened when it came time for my second birthday. My mom asked me what I wanted, and so I said, I want a baby doll. I don't care if I don't get anything else. I want a baby doll. But it wasn't until school, really, that I realized that the whole world thought I was supposed to be a boy. I got in trouble my first day of school for going to the girls' bathroom. By the time I was in the 5th grade, I noticed that there were some physical changes happening, and that was the development of breasts. By the time I was 12 in the 6th grade, I was a C cup, which, again, beat out every other girl in school. One day I was at the pool, and the lifeguard said, hey, you're kicked out because there's no swimming without a top. You have to wear a bra. And, of course, that's when I realized, I said, oh, my goodness, he thinks I'm a girl. How fabulous.
How fabulous. Please welcome Catherine to the show. Catherine, when you tell people about your life, what is the first question, the most pervasive question you get?
Definitely that would have to be, when did you realize you were a girl?
Okay, and that was one of the questions I would have asked, but not in that way. I would have asked, Good,
because I hate that question.
Yeah, and it really is, when did you realize that, you know, there's something about me that I know is different and no one else knows? Because I don't know if early on you thought you were definitely a girl or just didn't want to conform to what people were trying to make you conform to.
No, I would say that that's exactly the way it was. It wasn't until I started school that I really realized that the whole world thought I was a boy. And I was massively confused by that.
And we have your parents here, and I'm going to talk to them in a second. But I want to talk about even those little pictures that we see of you. Yeah. You're under 2 and you're running around with earrings on.
Yeah, my grandmother's earrings.
And explain this. As an infant.
Yeah, I was about, I don't know, 14 months old. And my grandmother lived with us, and she worked, and she wore a hat and earrings to work every day. So when she came home, I got into the habit of putting on the earrings and putting on the hat. And I probably would keep them on for an hour or two until dinner or whatever. And I think the adults thought at first, oh, isn't that cute? Charles is so funny. But quickly they didn't think it was funny anymore.
They started really, wait, hold on a minute.
Yeah, because
that's all Charles does.
Yeah, and they started taking the earrings away, and I would go get them again and put them on again and the hat.
And then you go to school, and oh my goodness, now you're in kindergarten, and we got one of them in the kindergarten. My goodness, I ain't let my kids play with you.
Well, I was pretty lucky with kids.
Were you?
At least through elementary school. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were all pretty accepting. I had my core group of friends, you know, and from the 2nd grade on, because I decided my name was Catherine in the 2nd grade, as long as my friends would call me Kathy, away from adults and away from school, then everything was great.
But the same thing with Hannah. You had difficulty trying to do the boy things. Meaning like sports, rough and tumble sports.
I never did them.
Right.
I never did them. But I think the difference between Hannah and I is that there was never a moment of doubt in my mind that I was female.
Okay, so here we are. Your parents, they got this confused kid, but we're going to make sure, damn it, he acts like a boy.
Right.
So you better be a boy. Now you start being a boy, and all of a sudden, oh my goodness, you turn 13 years old?
Well, 13 was a bad
13
year.
and 14, didn't something start happening?
Well, actually, it started earlier. I was an early developer. I was the first kid in my 5th grade class who needed a bra.
And all the other little girls were looking for their training bras.
Yeah,
you could have used one.
I could have used one. I didn't even need a training bra. Man, I needed the real thing.
Pop.
Yes. And I was a C cup by the time I was 12.
Well, your parents take you to the doctor, and the doctor goes, oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Freakazoid right here. The only way to stop that, double mastectomy.
That's right.
Let's just cut them off. Get the blade.
Yes. And he seemed very calm about it.
And your parents decided, heck no.
They did. It was It was very quick. Yeah, I think so too. Thank goodness.
I got to take a break, but I would say that that probably was a definitive moment in your family. Because at this point in time, I bet your parents, and we'll ask them, that's when they realized, you know what, there is something different here.
Yeah, different for real.
Different
not
for
just
real.
Different up here.
Yeah, let's take a little break. We'll talk about it when we come back. We'll be back right after this.
When I was a teenager, I realized that my masturbation was out of control. And so I said, okay, I made a deal with myself. I said, you will not masturbate any more than once every 2 hours. Because otherwise, that's just not normal.
Well, I had surgeries every year. My first surgery was when I was age 3 months. My last surgery was when I was age 23. I had 16 surgeries on my genitals. I definitely knew something was going on.
Now, please welcome Catherine's parents, Doris and Lemoyne, to the show. Welcome them both. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to talk to you in 1 second. I'll say thank you so much for being here. I'm going to talk to you in 1 second. I just want to make sure we get through the rest. So at that point in time, instead of getting the mastectomy, your parents opted for, which would have been a good decision.
It wasn't even my parents that opted for it. The doctor said, okay, then, what your little boy needs to be a normal little boy is a lot of testosterone. So,
they start injecting you.
Yes, 3 times a week in the bottom. And oh my, what a world of difference it made. All bad.
All bad.
Yeah,
it was the kind
bad.
of difference because now they've thrown your body into complete whack. We should say,
that's right.
after, let's do a hindsight thing here for a second. Yeah. When you finally went to see an endocrinologist and a doctor, they finally realized you were intersex, and they realized this person has within their body all female organs.
Right.
You had a uterus.
Exactly.
You had
do, as far as I know.
I'm sorry.
Well, somebody jerked it out in my sleep.
I'm sorry. Yes, you do. But you have ovaries.
Yeah. You know, when I was born, my genitals looked like a normal baby boy's. And you know what? They still do look like a normal baby boy's. They really haven't changed. And so, while I do have testicles, I was told from, I think, 14 on that I was sterile. So I don't think they ever worked.
Okay.
I think they were just decorative.
But for the two of you, this had to be like just not a nightmare, but confusing. Explain this to me. What was it like, Doris?
Total confusion and fear.
You see your little boy acting very strangely.
Right. More like a little girl.
And initially, did you think this was something that was psychological?
Well, I didn't know what to think at first. But it finally dawned on me there was something wrong.
Something wrong. When you go to the doctor says, it's time for us to perform a mastectomy on your boy, you said.
Because I couldn't hardly believe it at first, you know.
Okay, so you said no to the mastectomy, but yes to the injections. And we later find out, right, Catherine, that the injections, during this period of time, it's wreaking havoc emotionally and physically.
Oh, yeah.
And in every way, shape, or form. It's making you grow hair, but at the same time, it also drove you to suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, well, what it did was it kicked in a sort of, it is bipolarity, which I don't think I'd had prior to that, but I have had for the rest of my life since.
So how did we stop the hormone injections? Did you just stop it yourself?
No, the doctor eventually tapered off after about a year. But what had happened was he got my glands to produce at that ultimate rate.
Right.
So that they didn't need the shots anymore. I was still
pumping out testosterone.
Oh my gosh, yes. You wouldn't believe libido. You want to talk about libido?
I gotcha.
When I was a teenager, I realized that my masturbation was out of control, and so I said, okay. I made a deal with myself. I said, you will not masturbate any more than once every 2 hours. Because otherwise, that's just not normal.
To do a show like this, what bugs me is that I have to leave out so much because now I've got to jump and say, when did you realize I want to go see a doctor and really find out what's going on in my world?
Well, as a teenager, I was aware of transsexualism, and I was exploring all kinds of things because there was nobody around to tell me what I was. I had to go try different things. I thought, oh, well, maybe you're gay. So when I was 16 years old, I was stamping hands in a big gay bar. No, that didn't work. Then I said, okay, well, maybe you're a drag queen. You're a female impersonator. So I became a female impersonator for one night. Hated it. And then I said, oh, well, maybe you're a transsexual. And I found a doctor who specialized in treatments of transsexuals. And he said, well, certainly you're exhibiting a lot of things which might lead us to believe you are a transsexual. So I spent about 3 years, maybe 4, in that thinking I was a transsexual. And I was okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, fine. I don't care what I am as long as I know what I am.
When did you find out that you truly were intersex?
You really want to know?
Yeah.
I went to see an astrologer. Okay?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. And we sat down. I was so excited. I was like, oh, yeah, tell me all about myself. And the first thing he said was, well, tell me about your twin. And I said, what twin? And he said, well, is it a male or a female? I said, I'm an only child. And he said, you can't be, because everything in your chart points to being a twin. And I said, I don't know what to tell you. I think they would have told me if I was a twin. So I went home, ran into Mom, and I said, you know, I went to this astrologer today, and he said to me that I was a twin. Isn't that bizarre? I mean, my dad's a twin, but I'm not.
And Mom went, yeah.
Yeah, basically. She was like, well, we never thought to tell you that for the first 8 weeks of my gestation, there were 2 of us in the womb, and that one of us miscarried. And that's the week before gender's determined, by the way.
So in some way, shape, or form, that abrupt shock to the uterus could have, not say that, could have, but then again, we don't know for a fact.
No, we don't know.
And I want to, in some way, shape, or form, by the end of the hour, maybe try to turn this from being some sort of a medical malady. Maybe this is what they were supposed to be. Stop for a second. It is only Western Christianity and these thoughts that have to have such a definitive line between male, female. What if God decided, I want some people walking around the planet that are this way? Now what do you say? There is a third category. What do you say to that? Ooh, look at all the faces right now. Look at them. We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Goodbye.
Just a few more.
I should have used PreparationH.
PreparationH medicated wipes. Easier because they're 4 times bigger than Tux pads. PreparationH medicated wipes. Big relief.
Promotional consideration provided by the following.
I'm a pharmacist with arthritis, so I use doctor-recommended Capsaicin HP. Capsaicin starts strong and gets stronger the longer you use it. Capsaicin HP raises your level of relief.
Bye, size 14. Hello, results.
Nutrition-based Dexatrim results, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, 6 natural energy sources, and fat burners. New Dexatrim results.
Yes.
Please welcome to the show. Welcome Jerry to the show. And Jerry, different than our first 2 guests, this is something that I think would surprise me. You didn't find out that you were born a female until when?
Within the last year.
Within the last year?
Correct.
Now, you got to explain this to us.
Okay. I was going through my medical record searching for some other information and ran across a medication that was given triple sulfa vaginally.
Wait, you ran across a medication that was given to you vaginally?
Correct.
So then when you start digging into this, you start to find out that you had undergone as a child how many surgeries?
3 or 4.
3 or 4.
And that's...
It could have been 3 or 4. It might have been 5.
Or 6.
Or 6. Part of the reason for the secrecy about this was?
A possible research project that may have been occurring in the medical profession. It's real hard to say. The medical records, some hospitals, they don't exist any longer.
So you can't even find out why. Were you were adopted, or were you?
No.
No, your parents raised you?
Correct.
Along the way, during this period of time, multiple people had multiple say about what they thought you should be.
That's correct.
Some people tried, some family members tried to make you be all girl first?
All girl first, and then during the surgery to boy.
To boy?
And then at age of 9, back to girl.
Back to girl. And then when they tried to make you back to girl, they realized who realized that was wrong?
That's correct, and that's when I became rebellious and said, enough is enough.
Enough is enough. Now, when you looked at those medical records, it also said that you had inside, you had a uterus?
Correct.
You had all female organs inside?
Correct. Ovary, testy on one side, ovary on the other. So it'd be true hermaphrodite.
Okay. Then, after the surgery, they kept your testicle? Or do you know?
I don't know.
But you do know that you would assume that you fathered a child?
Correct.
You've been told you fathered a child?
Yes, I have.
Did you ever take a DNA test on that one?
No.
Okay, that's all right.
But she looks just like me, so.
That's cool. All right. But I say, well, but then again, you know, come on. Here I am. I'm going to be one of those people. How could you father a child if you don't have the plumbing to father a child with?
Do have the plumbing.
I didn't mean the apparatus. I meant, you know, the plumbing part, like, you know, the testicle part that makes sperm, or...
It's actually, I believe, the same as what Kathleen was going through, where they gave so much testosterone therapy that the body started to generate its own.
Wow.
And I'm not a doctor, so I can't, you know, confirm that or verify that.
But none of this did you, after you got off the hormones, now you're moving forward, you know you're a guy, you just march on smartly in life, right?
I thought.
You thought. But when I say march on smartly, you went ahead and got married?
Correct.
You dated women, got married, you were married for how long?
We've been married 20 years now.
20 years. Normal, typical marriage.
Wonderful marriage.
Wonderful marriage. And your wife, your ex-wife, your wife, not your ex-wife, your wife had already had children.
Correct.
Had a tubes tied.
Correct.
So there was no question about children.
That's right.
So you move on smartly. So now what was it like? I gotta ask her, we'll take a break. So you're married, all of a sudden you come home one day and you say, hey baby, guess what? I mean, it ain't nothing but, I used to be a woman, but that's okay. Because you know I'm a man right now. What did she say?
She thought I was off my rocker.
I'm with you. Let's find out. We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this. His wife, Cheryl, to the show. Welcome up. Please, Cheryl. Huh? What was your reaction when he came?
I was shocked.
Were you?
Very shocked. And it wasn't really that he just came home and said something. He talked about the medical records and stating that if he had this medication administered, then he would have to have had a vaginal opening. And I said, I didn't want to believe it. I didn't believe it at all. I didn't believe it. And I said, you have to find the answers. And I had to know. And because I'm like any other lady, I want to know that I'm married to Prince Charming and that he's just all Prince Charming. But my eyes were really open through a long process.
And then when you find out the truth of the matter is, it's Prince Charming, but Prince Charming is just different than other Prince Charmings. Right. So there's nothing wrong with you still got Prince Charming, he's just a little bit different. One of your biggest fears was what?
That he might leave. And I talked to him about that. I asked him, does this mean after all these years of marriage that you might be interested in a man? And he said, no. He said, I picked you for my life, and I loved you then, and I always will.
And I'm glad that you said that. Please welcome Linnell to the show. Welcome her. And, you know, a lot of people may, right now, the camera's in on you, they're going, I remember her, I think. She did the Montel Williams show before. Linnell was on our show before, on a show with some young people who were trying to talk to their fathers or mothers.
Right.
The parent that they always had. And had a young lady on the show who swore up and down that Linnell was her father.
Right.
The father that she saw dressing in drag would not even talk to her.
Right.
We did a DNA test, and it came back that you were not her father.
Exactly.
However, how is your relationship with her now?
I don't talk to her that often.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's
unfortunately.
Sad. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But now, how are you doing? Because
I'm doing good. I'm always good, Montel. I mean, first of all, I applaud everyone here, Catherine and Jerry and Hannah.
Absolutely.
I work work with the Intersex Society of North America, and what we do is we send out speakers to different college campuses or organizations to educate people about intersex issues. And when I hear you were doing another show, I had to be here, Montel. You know, I flew straight here from Chicago just to congratulate you for what you're doing. I mean, this is fantastic.
Woe be it to me to try to put you or anybody like yourself down in any way, shape, or form, because you could be my child.
Right.
And if you were my child, I would love you the same way.
Okay.
So, but you understand, and very clearly, that day of the show, and I mean, we got a lot of phone calls about that, and they were all very positive.
I got a lot of, I saw people on the street that saw me. I'm going to school right now for graphic art at Triton College in Chicago, and somebody in my class saw me. I'm drive through at McDonald's, and somebody saw me, and I'm like, oh, man, you know.
But it was all positive.
It was all positive, and the good part is a lot of people were educated about intersex issues. A lot of people were awakened and aware that it's not so much male and female anymore, and not that it ever was.
Right.
But they're becoming aware that people are walking outside of that shame. They're stepping outside of the secrecy, and they're saying, hey, you know, I'm intersex, I'm a hermaphrodite, and this is who I am.
Right now today, there are more people, and we've got a doctor here, we'll talk. Well, welcome, Dr. DeVoy, to the show. We'll take a break. And when we come back, is it that the instances of intersex is going up, or is it that our ability to detect it at every level has gotten better?
Both are true.
Let's talk about it when we come back. Let's take a little break. We'll be back. Thanks again. This is Dr. Howard DeVore to the show. I say it, you have the right to give this kind of advice because you yourself are intersex.
Correct.
When you were born. Why don't you talk a little bit about your life growing up, first off? I mean, I don't have a lot of time, but when did you realize, or how did you find out that you were intersex?
Well, I had surgeries every year. My first surgery was when I was age 3 months. My last surgery was when I was age 23. I had 16 surgeries on my genitals. I definitely knew something was going on.
Something was going on.
Yeah.
And during that period of time, and this is something maybe you could help us out clinically right now so people can understand. When you are intersex, that means that you are born with some variant of both forms of genitalia and sexual organs.
It really is you're born between the sexes.
Okay.
That's why it's intersex.
Okay, explain that just a little bit better. So some people can be born between the sexes but have 70% female and 30% or 80% female, you know what I mean? That's the hard part for people to put their hands around. Why don't you explain a little bit of that?
Well, the fact is that if there are no hormonal transformations during gestation, while the baby is developing in the womb, then the baby will always be born appearing female in the external genitalia. But with the addition of what are called androgens, which is male-making hormones, there's a series of transformations that change what would have been female-looking genitalia into male genitalia. And at any point, that could be interrupted, and you get something between female and male.
But internally, for yourself, okay, for a person like you started undergoing operations early on. Obviously, they also started hormone treatments.
No? I didn't take hormones until I was in my early 30s. I made enough of my own hormones on my own.
Okay, so therefore, man didn't decide what you are. They just helped you redefine, right? Or define? I don't know what it was.
There are plenty of kids who were born like me who were altered to live as girls.
Okay.
And that's because they take away the glands that make the male-making hormones and then give them female-making hormones instead.
Okay. Yeah, if you want to say something.
I just want to say, if there's someone that knows someone who may have an intersex child, they can contact the Intersex Society of North America at www.isna.org. There are a lot of support groups on the internet. My name is Linnell Stephanie Long, and if you go on the internet and just enter my name in the search engine.
This is a point I want to make to maybe to those people who are watching the show trying to figure this out. Do not intersex people. If let's say today, I'm married, I have a baby today, and my baby is born, and the doctor says, I really believe your baby's intersex, and we need to make a decision. I feel like I should say to him, you know what, no, you're not making a decision.
Exactly.
Homeboy, you just wait.
Yeah.
And send me to someone who can help me raise my child to understand who they are.
Exactly.
And then when they hit puberty, they'll gravitate towards what they would want to be. Naturally,
it can happen earlier. It can happen earlier.
It would happen earlier.
The child often will tell us if they feel like they're more one sex or the other, or they may, in fact, like I have chosen, to identify as an intersex person, neither male nor female.
Okay, so neither male nor female. And so how do you navigate a society that is all male or female?
Well, in social situations, I can have this appearance. I can present as a male. I pass as a male. But my internal psychology is not that of either a male or a female. I'm an intersex person. And I have found out that, in fact, I prefer intersex partners.
And when you finally had that acceptance, what did you say to you?
What I said to me was, it's fun passing as a male. Okay? It's fun passing as a male. I don't want to live up to being a male. I want to live up to being an intersex person, because that's who I really am. But passing as a male on the street is kind of fun.
We'll take a little break. We'll be back right after this. Is because the number of people who are intersex is on the rise.
Correct.
The number of people who are actually functioning with our society, within our society, that are intersex, are people that majority of us don't know.
But you see every day.
But you see every day.
Uh-huh.
So therefore, who you see, our perceptions of what may be a man or a woman are only distorted by what society has told us.
That's right. Identity is much more interesting than just male or female.
That's right, because I can look at you and say you're a male, but just the fact that you said that to me, I'm not wondering what you are. I have nothing in my mind went, oh, I wonder what he's got. What went in my mind was, you know, it must be a trip for you. Because, honestly, well, you have every possibility on the planet.
That's correct.
You can never go without a date, you know what I'm saying? What'd you laughing at? Thank you so much for being here.
Good to see you, Montel.
Honestly, thank you enough for being here. Thank all of our guests for being here. And this is something I'm hoping that we all begin to understand. It takes all of these pieces of a puzzle to make one puzzle whole. And I think we should accept every piece for what it is. A lot of time. Join us for the next one time.